The Atlanta Braves get a series win. I don't care who it's against. We'll take those right now. And Hurston Waldrep gets the bump up to Triple-A and shines in his first start there this year. Could he be a step closer to making his big league debut? We'll talk about all that on today's Minors Monday episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. Make sure you follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Follow the podcast there as well at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. You're new and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you hit that thumbs up button as well so others can find us here at Locked On Braves. You're listening on the audio version. Thank you so much for your support. If you would, leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever it is you'll listen to your podcast. And if you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below. Always love reading those comments from you, and you killed it on last Friday's video. Thank you so much for that. Well over 4,000 views and just hundreds of comments coming in. So I appreciate all the discussion there continuing, because that's what we want to do here at Locked On Braves. I'm here to just start a discussion with you, and we can continue that in the comments on YouTube or on social media. And that's what I love so much about this Braves community. On today's podcast, we'll get into the weekend series. Also recap that on the postcast with Grant McCauley on Sunday night if you want to check that out. But I'll give you some of my highlights from the weekend. And this is our Minors Monday episode. We'll talk about Hurston Waldrep getting moved up to Triple-A. When could we possibly see him at the big league level? Is that coming really soon? We'll discuss that, and then I'll set you up for all the action happening this week. Before we get into that, though, this episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Now, I did this one podcast really late on Sunday night. Didn't let many of you know that, but we do have David Agenius in here, and Jeffrey Humphreys always finds his way into the live podcast. Thank you so much for that. You're listening on Monday morning, getting your work week started. Glad you are able to find us, and hopefully you get a good drive into work on Monday morning. Highlights for the weekend. Look at the series win. And, I said it on Friday. I made the bold prediction. I said the Braves are going to win a series against the A's, but with the way things have been going, that didn't seem like much of a sure bet. I don't know what the odds were on FanDuel that the Braves would win a series against the A's, but after losing series to the Pirates and a 4-game series at home to the Nationals, nothing's guaranteed for the Braves at this point. So they were able to get the series win with a 4-2 win on Friday and then a 3-1 win on Sunday. So not exactly the most dominant wins in the world, but those are the wins the Braves are getting here lately. And again, if it's just a different style of team that we have to get used to this year, and maybe it's not the 6-4 wins or the 8-5 wins that we're used to last year, maybe they're going to win a bunch of games, 2-1, 3-1, 4-2. And that's fine if that's what it's going to be. It's going to put a lot of pressure on this pitching staff throughout the season to get it done. You would love for the offense to be able to pick them up on days like Saturday, which the offense did its job on Saturday. Pitching certainly didn't, but you would love to see the offense be able to get some of these wins on a day where the pitching doesn't have it. Get into, again, some of the highlights from the weekend. I was encouraged by the offense. In fact, in all 3 games. And they didn't score a ton of runs on Friday and Sunday, which happened to be the games that they won. But what I look for in this Braves team is everybody contributing top to bottom. And in that Friday game, everybody did something top to bottom, whether they got a hit, got a walk, drove in a run. Everybody did something in the entire lineup. On Sunday, everybody but Orlando Arcia did something. And unfortunately, Arcia came up in some pretty big spots late in the game with a chance to kind of add some cushion there. He was moved down to the 9 hole. I know that's going to make a lot of you feel much better, but still, you couldn't hide him there because he came up in some big spots. But either way, obviously what the offense did on Saturday was great. I want to see more of that, scoring 9 runs. But overall, again, I know it's not the huge numbers that we're used to or looking for, but I was somewhat encouraged by the offense over the weekend. And maybe it's me just trying to be optimistic. Maybe it's me just changing my expectations of what this offense looks like. But again, I thought pretty much every game this weekend, in every game, there was somebody was contributing something up and down the order. And that's what I want to see more from this lineup. I wanted to read this post from Braves Cast on X. If you want to follow at Braves Cast, that's Cast with a K. And he talked about the bad luck for the Braves. And some of you don't want to hear this. Some of you don't want to hear the excuses. Some of you don't want to hear about exit velocity and barrels, which I don't get. I know there's one person on social media in particular, Zach from Tennessee. I'll give you a shout out here. I don't understand why you don't like exit velocity. Like, why would you not want hitters that make the most optimal contact? If you could just make soft contact and place it exactly where you want it every time, then yeah, you would do that. But that's near impossible. There's a handful of players who can actually do that. Luis Ariz, Stephen Kwan, Tony Gwynn. I mean, just to name a couple. I mean, that's just it's not a skill that a lot of people have. Ideally, you want to make hard contact, and more often than not, you're going to get rewarded for that hard contact, just like the Braves did last year when they had a historic offense. That was all driven by the fact that they made a lot of hard contact. But for whatever reason this year, and the baseballs have changed. I don't even think it's a conspiracy theory at this point. The baseballs are different. It's just, look at offense around the league. Home runs are down everywhere. It's not just the Braves. Something's different with the baseballs. And if it is what it is, I talked about this on Friday when we were, talking about Kevin Seitzer and whether or not he should be on the hot seat. Look, is it Kevin Seitzer's fault if all of a sudden Major League Baseball changed the baseballs and didn't tell anybody? Or if the baseballs just happen to get wrapped differently this offseason? Like, is that Kevin Seitzer's fault if all of a sudden the game plan for offense is not to hit the ball extremely hard every time, it's to make soft contact, and that's what's getting rewarded? Look at Sunday. You had Austin Riley, who had a line drive, 102 miles per hour off the bat, but, right fielder was playing in the right spot, but he had a double earlier in the game on a ball that just blooped in. Sean Murphy had the go-ahead hit on a ball that just happened to bloop in the perfect spot. It just feels to me this year like soft contact is the key. Contact in general is the key. And Braves have been doing a great job of that, striking out too much. Either way, getting back to what I was wanting to read, there's a post from Braves Cast at Braves Cast, Braves Kast, says, how unlucky are the Braves have the Braves bats been? Since May the 1st, they have the third most barrels in the league. Barrels is what you want. You don't want to believe in exit velocity. Believe in barrels, because barrels means you're squaring up the baseball. You can have some high exit velocities and it can be a pop-up. But if you're barreling the baseball, it means you were catching it in the right spot for, the most optimal outcome. Of the barreled baseballs the Braves had since May 1st, basically in the month of May, they have the worst slugging to X slug gap. So a 1.881 slug to a 2.428 expected slug. That's a negative 0.547 gap in slug. That is unreal. They had the fourth worst batting average to X batting average gap, from 612 batting average to 745 X batting average. Again, this is just on those barreled baseballs. It's just, the Braves are a team that is built on slug. Look, last year they could do it a little differently. They also led the league in batting average, so you could do it a little differently. But, make no mistake, this is a lineup that is built to hit home runs. And if the balls are different this year and they're not flying out at the rate that we're accustomed to, then something has to change. As Scootapuff says, Braves lead the league in warning track shots, for sure. It certainly seems that way. Even going into the game on Saturday, they scored 9 runs, but there were so many balls. There's one from Adam Duvall in particular that Braves Cast put in his post where you see the outfielder heading towards the wall. Not only does he pull up, but he comes in. I don't understand why Major League Baseball continues to just mess with the balls and just doesn't say anything. Maybe that's unintentional. Maybe it's just, whoever's, putting the baseballs together is just, they're doing it differently. I don't know, but something's different. I mean, I'm not just trying to sit here and make excuses at this point. It just is what it is. And something's got to change on the Braves side of things. If slug isn't the way to win now, if you can't just win by hitting, 300 home runs as a team, and they got to find different ways to get it done. Whether that is just focusing on a better two-strike approach, putting the ball in play, things you should be doing anyway, stealing some more bags here or there, and that's a lot harder with Ronald gone. But again, if the slug is being taken out of these baseballs, then the Braves have to adapt and they have to change, or you're going to continue to see them struggle on offense like they have. So that's my end of that rant. But I thought that was a good post from Braves Cast. Again, shout out to him for putting that together. I don't know what happened to Chris Sale on Saturday. It was almost like he was tipping his pitches. I mean, they were blasting him, 8 hard hit balls in 4 innings against Chris Sale. All that to say, there's 4 plays in the first 2 innings of that game that if they get made, it's a much different ball game. First one is after a great play by Orlando Arcia. He spins, throws to first, not a great throw, and it was a tough pick. I'm not saying any of these were easy plays to make, but Olsen unable to pick it at first base. Ozzie not being able to complete the double play. We've talked about that on here a lot. It's just the arm of Ozzie Albies cost the Braves a lot of double plays, it feels like, and that's a big one there. Duvall not being able to run down that ball, going off his glove. Again, a tough play, but I'm saying these are plays that could have been made that just weren't. And then a ball to Jared Kelenic that just lands at his feet. I mean, I don't know why he didn't go to catch that if he, was dropping down. So it's not like if he dives for it, it's going to roll past him for a while. That one I did not understand. He's played great defense this year, Duvall too. But, again, some of these are not easy plays, but plays if you make, and then, you're a winning team, you make these plays. Even if you make 2 of these plays, it's a much different ball game on Saturday. But make no mistake, Chris Sale wasn't sharp, and he got hit really hard by the A's. I thought we had a momentum-changing game on Saturday, though. When the offense came back, took the lead, I said, okay, this is the moment. This is what I've been looking for, a game where the pitching doesn't have it. They fall behind early by a lot of runs, and the offense comes back, takes the lead, and wins the game. Offense came back, took the lead, but couldn't hold on, and they couldn't get, just a couple of more runs in those last couple innings where they had chances, but just couldn't complete it. So I thought that was going to be the game that I was looking for. Charlie Morton had a bounce back start on Sunday. That was great to see. Also, Matt Olson drove in runs in all 3 games over the weekend. I love to see that. He's been good for a while now, but he only had 15 runs batted in May. He had just 11 in April. The lowest he had in a month last year was 17. So good to see him start coming through in some of these clutch situations with runners on. Again, he's been hitting the ball much better, through the month of May and obviously going into June, but he hasn't really been coming through in those clutch spots when he's had runners on. So good to see that happening over the weekend. Matt Olson coming up with some big hits. All right, next we'll turn it to the minor league level where we're talking about Hurston Waldrep, who made his 2024 Triple-A debut, not his debut overall at Triple-A, as he made 1 start there last year. But he does get called up to Triple-A, dominates in his first outing. He's now knocking on the door at the big leagues. When could we see Hurston Waldrep? I'll tell you here next. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert at support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. If you're like me, you like having sports on your TV all day, but you just want to get the news. You just want to get the nuts and bolts. You don't want all that nonsense. Make sure that you make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, what's coming up on the podcast this week? On Tuesday, we'll have our first Mock Trade Tuesday. So get ready to submit in your mock trades to me, and we'll have a segment going over some of those. On Wednesday, we will have our MLB draft prep. I'm going to go over some of the college players that I've been watching this past weekend over the regionals. I'm still watching it right now. I got Squeeze Play on. If you are not watching Squeeze Play, you're missing out on a really fun treat. But I've had a blast watching the regionals this weekend. So I'll go over some of those prospects on Wednesday. And then we'll have our mailbag podcast later in the week as well. And we'll go around the league on Thursday. So a lot of good stuff coming your way this week on the podcast. But it is Monday, or Sunday technically, as we're recording this. So let's get into our top prospects. AJ Smith-Shawver, unfortunately, is injured. Waldrep moved up to, we'll go first. He had to start at Double-A earlier in the week. 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, 7 strikeouts. Well, a good performance, certainly there. They give him the bump to Triple-A, where he goes 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned runs, 11 strikeouts. And that splitter was just really nasty for him out there. So love to see that. Hurston Waldrep, again, making that bump to Triple-A. Great to see. And look, I don't know how far away we are from seeing Waldrep at the big league level. I thought, kind of mid-season, maybe that late June, early July type of frame where we could see, because I think with Waldrep, just my opinion, you bring him up, I think you want him to, obviously you bring any young pitcher up, you want them to be there to stay. Maybe even Schwellenbach. I don't know that that's completely the plan, because you're probably going to want to limit his innings. But I think for somebody like Waldrep, that the Braves are obviously very high on, and they, I just, again, my gut feeling is he's not somebody that they want to jerk around. And I don't either. I don't want to see them call him up. He has maybe a rough start or two, and then he's just down, and we don't see him again for a while. If I'm the Braves, I want to make Waldrep, earn the promotion. And when he's there, give him a full run. Give him an opportunity to stick in that rotation. I say that also because that was one of my bold predictions at the beginning of the year. So I would love to see that, become correct. But I just feel like he's somebody that you call up in the second half. He takes over one of those spots and can just hold on to it. And you ride into next year and you got another spot locked up. That's my hope anyway for Waldrep. Obviously, he has been great. A couple of shaky starts to begin the year where they basically took his best pitch away from him. But since he's had that splitter back, you're seeing the strikeout numbers go up. But what I was really impressed with in his first start at Triple-A, where they're using the ABS system. So it's a full automated strike zone. And that made me a little bit nervous because of his control issues that he's had, but still just 1 walk in his first start at Triple-A and 11 strikeouts. So that is highly, highly encouraging for me with Hurston Waldrep. Again, I don't necessarily think it's imminent, but I could see by the end of this month, especially he puts together a couple more good starts at Triple-A, I think we're getting really close to seeing Hurston Waldrep. And again, when he comes up, I hope it's a situation where he comes up to stay and he sticks in the rotation and grabs one of those spots. So looking forward to that. Can't wait to see his next start at Triple-A. Spencer Schwellenbach, he is up, and he's going to get another start for the Braves on Wednesday in Boston. And I was encouraged with his first big league start, getting through 5 innings there, settling down after giving up the 3-run home run. Those are all the runs he gave up, and being able to get to that 5th inning. Look, I know the offense is struggling, but if it's your 5th starter and he can give you 5 innings every time out of 3 earned or less, I will take that. So hopefully that's what we see from Schwellenbach again on a Wednesday. Moving down the top prospect list here, J.R. Ritchie's out. Owen Murphy's having Tommy John surgery. He's out. I already mentioned AJ Smith-Shawver's out with injury. Nacho Alvarez, he only played in a couple of games this last week, was 1 for 9 with a walk, but he didn't play after Thursday's doubleheader. So hopefully nothing major going on there. Cade Keeler, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, no earned, and 3 strikeouts. Drew Hackenberg, 3 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks, 2 hit batters, 7 earned, and 5 strikeouts. It's been really up and down for Drew Hackenberg so far this year. Really for Cade Keeler, kind of 2 guys that I think are pretty similar, college pitchers that were taken last year that I like Hackenberg better. I know a lot of people like Cade Keeler better. And you look at his numbers on the year, he's 1-5, a 3.09 ERA, a 1.229 WHIP, but just 32 strikeouts in 35 innings. And he's pitching at Augusta, whereas Hackenberg's is up at Rome. But just some up and down starts for those two, really all year long. But I feel like both of those guys are probably back in starters. Moving down to each level real quick, give you some of the highlights from the week. At Gwinnett, Phillip Evans was 8 for 17 with a home run, a walk, and a steal. Andrew Velasquez, 8 for 20 with a double, a homer, 4 walks, and 4 stolen bases. Luke Waddell, 7 for 24, 3 doubles, a homer, 9 RBI, and 1 walk. Good to see him get going. It's been a rough go for him at Triple-A this year. He's somebody that I thought, with a good season at Triple-A, might be a phone call away from becoming that bench kind of utility guy. But it's been a rough season for him so far. Eli White, 5 for 18, a double, 2 homers, and 5 walks. Bryce Elder, 8 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, and 11 strikeouts this past week. So like Hurston Waldrep, he also gets 11 strikeouts this past week. I don't know what's going on there, but the strikeouts were being brought certainly by the Gwinnett pitchers, and I believe they were going up against Norfolk. Yeah, they were at Norfolk, which is one of the better prospect-laden teams in all of minor league baseball, with the Orioles Triple-A team there, Jackson Holiday, and a host of top prospects. Grant Holmes, Braves are just taking any reliever and seeing what they can do with a starter at this point. Grant Holmes, who has been the Braves closer at Gwinnett for the last couple of year and a half now, they've now got him starting, and he was really good. 5 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 1 earned on a solo homer, and 7 strikeouts. So that could be a huge development there. Now, with that, Zach Logue got pushed into the bullpen, and he was good there. 3 innings, 2 hits, no walks, no earned, 5 strikeouts. Dylan Dodd also came out of the bullpen on Sunday after Hurston Waldrep, so we'll see if that's something they plan on sticking with. David Fletcher started a game for Gwinnett this past week, and he was really good. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts, and then he got sent down to Double-A, where he did hit there, but I'm curious to see if maybe they try to actually develop him as a pitcher. Also curious to see if David Fletcher gets suspended by Major League Baseball at any day now. So he's definitely been a storyline this year. At Mississippi, Cal Conley, 6 for 16, 3 walks, and a stolen base. Not much to speak of offensively there at Mississippi, but on the pitching side, Drew Parrish, 5 innings, 5 hits, no walks, 3 earned, 7 strikeouts. Luis Diavila, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts. And then Ian Mejia had the 1 start at Triple-A, got sent back down to Double-A, and continued just to not give up any runs there. 7 innings, 3 hits, no walks, no earned, only 3 strikeouts. But again, keeping runs off the board is what you want as a pitcher. At Rome, my guy Sabine Ceballos, 11 for 31 this past week, 2 doubles, a homer, and a walk. Kevin Kilpatrick, 9 for 30, a double, a home run, 3 walks, and 4 stolen bases. Ethan Workinger, 9 for 27, a double, 2 homers, and 4 walks. And Adam Zaborowski, 6 for 18, a double, a home run, and 4 walks. And I was getting ready to come on here and get really excited about Ambioris Taveras because he started to cut down on the strikeout numbers. He hasn't struck out in his last 4 games. Unfortunately, he hasn't played since May 29th, so I'm hoping there's not an injury there for him because he seemed to be turning a corner. And the last couple of games that he did play was 3 for 7 with 2 homers and a walk, and again, no strikeouts. So again, I hope there's nothing happening there injury-wise that's going to keep him out a while because he seems to be making the adjustments at the plate, at least not striking out a lot. We know he's got good power there. So I was getting really excited coming on here talking about Ambioris Taveras, but unfortunately just hasn't played a lot here recently. And then Shea Shanaman went 4 1/3 innings, no hits, no walks, no earned, 4 strikeouts, and 2 saves this past week out of the bullpen for Rome. At Augusta, Jace Grady, 6 for 19, a home run, 3 walks, and a stolen base. Cam McGee, 6 for 14, a double, a home run, and 3 stolen bases. And this is not a good update. Isaiah Drake, 1 for 23, no walks, and 15 strikeouts. That's rough. I mean, he was rough last year at the complex league after getting drafted with the strikeouts. He's been rough all year, had a little injury in there, but the strikeouts have been bad for Isaiah Drake. Guy with a lot of talent, but kind of like Taveras, kind of like my guy Kevin Kilpatrick, got to work on that plate discipline if he's going to be able to stick. Garrett Bauman, 6 innings, 3 hits, no walks, no earned, 4 strikeouts. He's been so good at times this year, but he just doesn't have the strikeouts that I feel like he should have. But either way, getting it done on the mound. Again, run prevention. That's what you want most of all from your pitcher. William Silva, 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned, 5 Ks, and 2 saves. And then at the FCL level, John Gill, 6 for 18, 2 walks, 4 stolen bases. He's been the best player at the FCL level. I told you coming into the year, kind of a sneaky prospect there. John Estevez, 4 for 18, a double, 2 walks, and a stolen base. Jeremy Celedonio, 3 for 9, a double and 3 walks. And Jeremy Reyes, 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts. I picked him up in my deep dynasty league. That is certainly a name to watch for the Braves. And then the Dominican Summer League starts on Monday. I don't really recognize too many players on that roster, but that'll get underway this week. All right, that is your Minors Monday update. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know which prospects you are most excited about in the comment section below. All right, it is a off day for the Braves on Monday, but I'll gear you up for what's happening this week for the Braves. They got 2 in Boston and 4 in Washington. We'll discuss that more here next. Baseball is in full swing. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entry. Whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports. Again, all you got to do, pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. I'm trying to get into my PrizePicks app now, but I got signed out for some reason. But all you got to do is download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And you look at PrizePicks right now, some of the ones they have out there for Monday: Pete Alonso, 6.5 hitter fantasy score. All you do is pick more or less on that. Bryce Harper at 7.5 pitcher strikeouts. They have Tyler McGill at 5. You think he's going to strike out 5? Washington Nationals think he's going to have more or less than 5 strikeouts against the Washington Nationals. It really is that simple. Our old friend Kevin Gausman, he's at 5 pitcher strikeouts as well, going up against the Baltimore Orioles. So download the PrizePicks app today. Open it up. See what you got. Pick 2 to 6 players or groups of players and decide if they'll go more or less on certain stats like strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, and fantasy score right there on PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Just a little bit of news. Chadwick Tromp did get sent down. The Braves decided to keep him up, thinking maybe they'd use 2 catchers here or there, but that just never happened. So instead of having Chadwick Tromp just sit on the bench, they are going to send him back down to Triple-A. I didn't see a corresponding move there. Maybe we'll get that. They don't really have to, as they don't play again until Tuesday, but I'm sure they're just going to bring up another bench player. Next up for the Braves, again, off day on Monday, needed after a long stretch of games, and then they have 2 in Boston and 4 in Washington. It'll be Fried versus Cutter Crawford on Tuesday, and then Spencer Schwellenbach, like I said earlier, going up against Nick Pivetta. And Braves just saw both of those guys as they won a 2-game series in Atlanta not too long ago, and so hopefully that continues. I see some comments talking about Orlando Arcia and his offensive inabilities. We talked about that earlier, but I will say this. He's batting 9th. He should be batting in the bottom third of your order, and he's playing Gold Glove defense. I'm not blaming offensive struggles on Orlando Arcia. I'm not expecting much from him. I said coming into the year, I said last year when he got the job, I said he's going to be, a slightly above average defensive player. He's even better than that now, and he's going to be slightly below average offensively. Maybe even a little bit worse than that so far this year. But if you're getting worked up because Orlando Arcia isn't getting it done at the bottom of the order, I think you're putting blame in the wrong spot. He's not the guy that we should be counting on to get things done. And yeah, it's a 75 WRC plus this year. So again, not great, certainly, but he's not the guy I'm pinning the offensive struggles on. It's the guys at the top of the order. A couple more comments here. Robert Chisano says, "Hey Jake, do you think Schwellenbach will stick around for a bit in the rotation?" I think it's all just I think it's start to start and what he looks like. And as long as he's going out there, like I said, and giving them 5 innings of 3 earns or less, I think he's going to stick. Now, the question becomes, when do the innings become an issue for Spencer Schwellenbach? He threw just 65 last year, and he's already over 50 when you include his minors numbers and his big league numbers, as you should. So what's the inning cap for Schwellenbach this year? Do you hope that you can get him to 100 innings? I mean, I feel like that's probably what we're looking at. He's at 50 innings on the year, 45 in the minors, 5 in the big league. So, and again, he threw 65 last year, a year coming off Tommy John surgery. So that's my only real question with Schwellenbach. I think he's good enough to stick around. I'm just, curious on what the innings cap looks like for Schwellenbach this year. New Turbo says Kelenic has been impressive so far. He has been. I'm really impressed and encouraged by what I've seen from Kelenic since the Acuna injury. Talked about it, as an opportunity for him and Duvall really, to step up and show they can be everyday players. And I think Kelenic's more so taking advantage of that. Despite the little defensive laps I talked about on Saturday, I think Kelenic has certainly stepped up at the plate in Ronald's absence. So that's great to see. Got a couple of everydayers in here. Stu 1844 and Ryan Webb saying they're everydayers. Thank you so much for letting me know that. Again, if you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments section. Love hearing that from you. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. If you're new, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already on this video, got a big week coming up for you. Got mock trade segment coming up, MLB draft prep around the league, and mailbag podcast coming your way later this week. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves. Follow us on social media at shortstopball, at @LockedOn_Braves. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.